was excited to choose a mission for my project. So I chose San Francisco de Solano. It started in 1824. This is a clay model of the mission that we're in right now. These are the walls and these are the actual mission houses.
This one was founded in 1823. So, what, 40 years or 30 years? This one was the last one and the most northern, but it also was the only one formed under Mexican rule. In 1822, or actually 1810, but it took them about 10 years, Mexico got its independence from Spain. So when that happened, the Mexican government, Mexico City, said, we're not doing the missions anymore, we're done with it. Well, the padre here, Altamira, wanted a mission here, so he went to the California governor and he said, I want to build a mission, and they said, okay. And then later he asked the church if it was all right. So this one was built under Mexican rule, and it lasted about 10 years.
On July 4th, 1823, Padre Jose Altamira founded this northernmost of California's Franciscan missions, the only one established under independent Mexico.
These walls are made out of sticks and logs.
So while you're trying to take that picture, do you remember how you make an adobe brick?
Yeah, mud.
Mud, or dirt and water, mud, yes. And what would hold it together?
Oh, those plates, templates, maybe?
Well, there were templates, there were little molds that they used, but they would put straw in there. And they would mix it up when it was wet, and the straw would help hold it together after it dried, or otherwise it might just crumble. And adobe bricks were very important to all building in California, but in particular the mission. They were almost all adobe bricks, and all of the adobe bricks were made by the Indians.
Now we're going to go into the mission. This is a church bell from Mexico till 1811. Presented 1955 by Mr. H. G. Macklin in honor of Mrs. Celeste C. Murphy, Sonoma historian and civic leader.
What's that?
This is
The Indians that lived here, and they were Pomo, Wapo, Winton, Coast Miwok, they did the work out here, and they made adobe bricks, they slaughtered animals if that's what had to happen, they cooked, they tanned hides for leather, and so this was a very important work yard. No, the barracks came later. After General Vallejo was sent up here to secularize the mission, or to turn it into a parish church rather than a mission, General Vallejo had the barracks built because he was up here primarily for three reasons. He had been in Yerba Buena, which is what they call today is San Francisco. He was sent up here to secularize the mission, which meant give the mission lands back to the Indians. Didn't really happen.
Yes.
To establish a pueblo, and as we understand it, all of the native lands up here were called rancherias in the beginning, when they got after the secularization of the missions, they became pueblos, or towns. So he was to establish a town up here. He was also supposed to protect what we called the Northwest Territory, the Northwest
From the
frontier.
Russians.
Side of the
Horno. Yup.
you get a stick, you dip in the wax.
That's exactly right. But back then they didn't really have wax. Today we have, well, they had wax, but it wasn't really handy. They would make a wax-like substance out of animal fat, and they would melt it. They put some other stuff in there. They put acids in there and lye to keep it all together. And they would dip. They would dip the wicks in there until they made candles. It was very painstaking work. I mean, the things that you take for granted, like a bar of soap or a candle, took hours and hours to make, and they would make them in a vat like this. Chapel. The original one stood on that site, and it was wooden. It wasn't built very well, and I think it either burnt or fell down. They built a second chapel on that side, and we have a very high water table here, and there was, I think it fell down. It did not burn. It was adobe. And so in 1840, when General Vallejo had been up here for a few years, his wife said, you know, fix this thing up. So this one, the one you see today and the one we're going to go inside, was built in the 1840s. And it was built by General Vallejo. And the mission was by then being used as a parish church. Now,